Tilta, known for their cinema accessories, is expanding further into tripods with the new 75mm CT12, CT08, and Travel and Table Tripods. We gave the CT12 and CT08 a quick look back on the show floor at NAB 2024, and I've now had both for several months on a variety of productions, and it's time for a full field review. Hi, I'm Grant Mailer-Sheldon. Welcome to CineD. First, the high-capacity CT25 tripod, which my colleague Nino first learned about at NAB 2024, has been delayed, leaving the CT12 to fend for itself for the moment as the flagship Tilta tripod. Fear not though, the Tilta team says the CT25 is still coming to market later in 2025 with a promised price tag of $2,000. But I've also now spent some time with the new and extremely affordable Tilta VT05 Travel Tripod and VT03 Tabletop Tripod, and the results might surprise you. With the holidays and a few shipping delays, I've now had months to spend with each of these tripods on multiple shoots, and you'll not be surprised to learn I have thoughts. With these 4 new tripods from Tilta and an overall marketplace filled with tripod options, it might be tricky to figure out which one might be right for you. So ideally, I can help save you some research time with this video. Okay, let's dive in. We're going to cover the following: the 75mm CT12 26.5 pound capacity for $1,199, the 75mm CT08 17.6 pound capacity for $899, the VT05 11 pound capacity for $299, and the VT03 6.6 pound capacity for $149.99. When I line all these tripods up in a row, you get a sense of just how different each of these are. Let me say I am very, very picky about tripods. I spend so much of my life around tripods that they need to be an extension of my arms, and the moment I miss a shot because I feel like I'm fighting the tripod for some reason is the moment where I get very grumpy. It's also a hard thing to engineer a good tripod, especially for the prices we have here. My very favorite tripods exist in the $5,000 to $10,000 range. And yeah, I get this makes me a bit of a snob, but these are also purchases that I intend to use, or at least rent, for years and years to come. When I was first starting out, I'd be handed a beaten up tripod from a dusty equipment room or a high volume industrial rental house, and I would have little choice in the matter. I still look back on those shows and I feel like every tripod bump registers on screen, even if it wasn't recognizable to the vast majority of audiences. Luckily, camera bodies are getting smaller, and camera manufacturers haven't sacrificed image quality to achieve those smaller body sizes. For most of my career, I've used Mitchell base tripods or 100mm tripod heads, but 75mm tripod heads now very much have the capacity to work with my favorite mid-budget cinema cameras. It's impressive to me that Tilta didn't release just one tripod to, test the waters, and instead released 4 tripods nearly at the same time. They are also each very different in terms of features. All 4 tripods ship in soft cases that won't survive being checked on an airplane, but you could pack them in larger Pelican-style hard cases for transport. My personal favorite, nearly indestructible tripod transport case is from a brand called HPRC, in case you are curious. Okay, let's kick things off with the 75mm CT12, which is the beefiest of the bunch in terms of weight capacity at 26.5 pounds. On paper, the $1,199 CT12 isn't just the leader of the pack, you also have the most ability to fine-tune your camera moves with this tripod. That ability of the CT12 to really fine-tune comes in the form of 10-step counterbalance, 8 steps of fluid tilt and pan drag with plus 90 degrees and minus 60 degree tilt. It might sound like I'm just throwing a bunch of numbers at you, and I am, but this degree of control is meaningful when following a fast-moving vehicle or animal on a long zoom lens, or simply landing a repeating move during a scripted scene over and over again. You can set the tripod to assist your camera move and not fight you with a few simple clicks. The CT12 worked great for me paired with a VCT plate while using a Canon C300 Mark III, C500 Mark II, and a Sony FX9 on different shoots. Of course, results will vary with the above camera list if you start adding heavy zooms like something from Ingenue, or perhaps a heavier anamorphic prime like maybe an Atlas Orion. 3 locking brackets on each of the carbon fiber legs allow you to extend the CT12 tripod up to its full height of 5 foot 4 inches. I found these brackets are the stiffest of all the models out of the box and require a good bit of strength to physically lock them down. However, that does provide peace of mind that they won't slip with a camera and lens on board. I just wish the tripod shipped with the tension a bit lower on these brackets in particular. The mid-level spreader is easily removable for moving the tripod lower to the ground for especially low-angle shots, usually reserved for a hi-hat. Personally, I am much more of a fan of mid-level spreaders versus ground spreaders on tripods. Please leave a comment below if you have any suggestions about why I should like ground level spreaders in general, because I've rarely had a positive experience with those. Okay, 3 little rubber feet cover each of the CT12 tripod feet, and I found that those rubber feet were prone to slipping off just in the course of transporting the tripod around in its soft case. I wish those stayed in place a bit better. You want these rubber feet to protect floors from damage, but you can always remove them in favor of small spiky feet when filming outside on, say, grass or sand. The overall weight of the CT12 comes in at 17.09 pounds, which is a few pounds heavier versus the pricier Sockler Active 6/75mm Flowtech competition. Now, I own the Active 6/75mm Flowtech tripod, and the legs are a little faster to extend, but honestly, both tripods bubble level equally as fast. I also think the Tilta CT12 legs will hold up to more impacts versus the Sackler Flowtech legs, which I just saw crack on a show I'm working on after some rough handling by airport TSA agents. The affordable price tag of the CT12 puts it firmly in an owner-operating purchasing category and not necessarily in the rental space. It will be interesting to see how the upcoming $2,000 Tilta CT25 tripod fits into the rental house world. For now though, the CT12 is a solid tripod flagship from Tilta with just a few drawbacks, mostly offset by the great pricing of the system. My guess is that most people will go straight to the largest capacity Tilta tripod and start there with the CT12. But I was impressed by just how much I enjoyed working with the 10-pound CT08. In short, don't sleep on the humble CT08, it's a ton of fun to use. The $899 Tilta CT08, available in space gray, forest green, or snow camo colors, has 3-stage carbon fiber legs with no mid or lower level spreaders. It supports a payload from 2.2 pounds to 17.5 pounds, and pay attention to that lower end of the payload or you'll feel like the counterbalance is fighting your camera moves. In practice, I tend to always stay a few pounds shy of the upper end capacity limits on all my tripods. But the CT08 feels perfect for, say, a Sony FX3 with a beefy zoom, or an FX6, or my trusty Canon C80. In fact, the CT08 was my favorite of the bunch to use with my Canon C80, mostly because of the overall weight to capacity ratio. Oh, and the snow camo also looks cool as heck. Proof, right here. One thing you are losing versus the CT12 is the single locking bracket. You now need to unlock each of the 3 CT08 stages one at a time to extend the tripod to its full height, which, really doesn't take that long. Interestingly, the CT08 at a max 5.9 feet height can extend slightly higher than the CT12, adding to its versatility. With the CT08, you aren't getting quite the fine-tuned control as with the CT12 because the CT08 only gives you 4 levels of pan and tilt fluid drag. But there were only 1 or 2 moments where I feel like I missed a shot, or because I missed those extra stages of fluid drag. Really ask yourself if you can get away with using the CT08 versus something more expensive. At 10 pounds, I liked how it felt to carry, and the speed of setup was really impressive to me. That 17.5 pound weight capacity also proved perfect for most of the mid-sized cine cameras I'm using these days. Only one setup I tried proved to be too much for the CT08. I tried putting a Sony FX9 plus a Teradek Prism with an Ingenue Easy Zoom, and hey, I had to try, but that was a bit too much. From here, we'll move right along to the VT05 and VT03, much smaller and more affordable options that lose many of the cinema-focused features, but vloggers and content creators will want to pay attention to the Tilta VT05 and VT03. First, let's chat about the Tilta VT05. At $299, you'll need to be realistic that you simply won't be getting the same experience here as with the CT08, but that doesn't mean that the Tilta VT05, also sometimes referenced as the Tilta Travel Video Fluid Head, might not be useful for your projects. You do lose the fine control of being able to change the tension of your fluid or pan moves, but the smooth fluid head of the VT05 did seem fine for most of my moves with a smaller camera, like the Sony a7R V. It sports 3-stage carbon fiber legs with 3 separate locks per stage, an 11-pound weight capacity, and a reversible center column for hitting tough lower angle shots just 5.1 inches off the floor. The height range, without reversing the center column, is 9 inches to 63 inches. When I first unboxed the VT05, I most directly compared it to the $599 Peak Design Travel Tripod. But of course, the Peak Design Travel Tripod doesn't have a fluid head, so it's less useful for video. The VT05 feels perfect for a self-shooting vlogger or content creator in the DIY space, or someone with lots of B-roll needs and a smaller mirrorless fixed lens camera. You can move very fast when the weight of this tripod is only 4.4 pounds and you have a small camera on board. The tripod handle also telescopes out and back in with a quick twist. Again, a nice touch that can be accomplished with only one hand. This is also a tripod you can hike up the side of a mountain with and not feel exhausted, and it breaks down into a backpack-friendly 23.2-inch length when closed. Just to give you a sense of my perspective, I'll be honest that my day-to-day work primarily requires something more like the CT08 or CT12, but I can appreciate that the VT05 will be all you need in certain fields of content creation. If you work with an APS-C camera, perhaps with a fixed lens, the VT05 Travel Tripod feels aimed squarely at you, and you should give it a try. Okay, last but not least is the Tilta VT03 Tabletop Tripod. Maybe most importantly, the $149 VT03 Tripod is adorable. It feels a little like those novelty C-stand or Apple boxes or even small camera models that you see here or there. But this tripod actually works and has a 6.6 pound weight capacity. That 6.6 pound weight capacity covers a wide range of mirrorless cameras and their smaller optics. I've actually found a need for a tripod this size primarily for live streaming with my trusty Sony a7R V or Sigma FP. I have a narrow desk at home in a smaller office space with minimal room for a tripod, and it often has to live right behind my MacBook Pro, almost touching the top of the screen. There's just not a lot of room for a camera there. My issue with tabletop tripods like the Pixie is that they have a tendency to either slip from the positions you need them to take, or I feel like I'm wrestling to get them in the right place. I just haven't had much luck with tabletop tripods with this design. Granted, they're significantly cheaper than the VT03, but if you spend a ton of time wrestling to get these tripods to do what you need them to do, how useful are they really? The 1.03 pound Tilta VT03 packs up into a small soft case made up of the same materials as all the other tripods in this review, but it's incredibly compact to the point where you could fit a couple in any backpack. There's also a few 1/4-20 mounting points on the legs that make for great mounting points for lighting or perhaps a shotgun microphone or wireless receiver. Of course, the VT03 would also be a great solution paired with any phone, and the Tilta Chronos phone accessory system in particular would be a good fit here. The handle also telescopes out with a quick twist, and this tripod also comes in the same snow camo, forest green, and space gray color options. Okay, moving on. Looking back, my favorite tripod of the bunch continues to be the CT08, and I have some remaining concerns about the CT12 rubber feet and the stiff locking brackets. But you can't argue with that impressive weight capacity and smooth, fluid 8-step head. For the work that I do and the camera body types that I work with, the VT05 Tripod is the one I'll likely seek out the least. Users of more vlogging-focused cameras like the Sony ZV-1F will find the VT05 to be very useful though. It's a gutsy thing to launch a tripod line aimed at a variety of different users in the marketplace all at once. Tilta has mostly succeeded here with compact, affordable, and dare I say stylish-looking tripods that can carry a wide variety of cameras. Okay, thanks for watching. Finally, a big thank you to Rev Studios in San Diego, California for their help with this review. Check out revstudios.com if you want to book their beautiful studio space. Thanks for watching, everybody.